Do have to ask, because you did appear on WWE TV numerous times over the years after the documentary, and that's including matches with guys like Haku, Meng, I think most fans know him Haku, and the late great Umaga. I just want to know, what was it like working with them?
Umaga, and then Heidenreich and Stevie Richards, and then eventually, Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona.
Who was some of your favorites to work with during those times?
It goes back to my first appearance. It goes back to Haku. He was the best. This guy, I have so much respect for Haku. I saw him in 1986 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at the Five Seasons Center house show for the WWF. 86. So yeah, I was 11 years old, and I got to see him as King Tonga wrestle a match that night. And who knew in 2001 that I'd be wrestling him in front of 20,000 people at the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You know, it's incredible.
When you think about it, take a step aside and realize, bloody hell.
Yeah, but really, if you really think about it, how crazy is this? You're in this sold out building in Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 1986, and this one little kid in the building that night, out of everyone in this crowd, is going to be having WWF matches in 2001. You know, the only person in that whole building. And
it's crazy.
It is. It's absolutely crazy.
Just even that far.
Yeah. And I was a little kid. I never even thought of being a pro wrestler then. I just loved watching wrestling. But in 2001, I got to wrestle Haku. Tony Grillo was the guy who assigned the matches at that time. And we're out at ringside, you know, during the day, the guys that are there as extra talent are doing little mini tryout matches in the ring, or new talent that's about to start and they want to work on some things. You know, they'll go in there with the agents, Arn Anderson and other guys. Mm-hmm. And there I saw Tony Grillo, and I saw the little board. He's going to write the matches on there for the night. And I saw Tony, so I started doing Hindu squats like right next to him, so he could see me. I wanted to make damn sure it's like, as soon as Tony started looking for guys who's going to wrestle on the show tonight, it's like, I want to make sure I'm the first person he sees. And Tony looks over at me and he goes, "Yeah, you don't mind getting beat up, do you, kid?" "No, sir." So I got to wrestle Haku that night, and the match right before me, which is really crazy because it's like I'm a Forrest Gump of history. I happen to be at places that during the craziest times. The match before me was a dark match, and it was two local Minnesota guys against Brock Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin, with the Governor, Jesse the Body Ventura, as their manager that night in a dark match. Yeah. Did you
know when you saw them, by the way? Like, did you know, well, okay, they're going to be main event talent, or was it just?
No, at that time I had never seen anything like Brock Lesnar. He was like the 6'5" Incredible Hulk. I mean, he was just, if you painted him green, he would be the Incredible Hulk. That's how he looked in person. He was that massive.
Would you say that the TV doesn't do him any justice then sometimes? Like,
no.
He's a beast though. But no, I do remember your match. It was Jacked, wasn't it? Or Metal, sorry. What? It was on Metal.
Yeah, Jack. Yes. Thank God for. I was there early enough to be blessed with syndicated television. This was called Jacked or Metal, based on where you lived. It's a syndicated show. We had like 8 minutes. So back then, the local talent would actually get some offense in on a WWE superstar. I know how crazy that sounds now. If you see an extra talent on Raw right now, they lose in 20 seconds. But back, excuse me, back then, not only did they say your name, they said where you're from, what you weigh. So it's like, hey, you could actually use that as a tool on the indies. Like, hey, I was just on WWF Metal last week against Haku, you know. Like nowadays, you're lucky if they'll even put your name on the screen. And I wrestled Haku. We put this match. Oh, I didn't even tell you about that. When we're putting the match together in the back, Eddie Guerrero comes walking in, and he's just kind of pulling his luggage along, and he just looks really out of it, like, yeah. And he went off in his room. Haku saying, "Okay, brother, we do the backdrop here." And here comes Eddie, and he goes, "And I do the chop, and then we go do the chop." So this is Eddie was when he had his substance abuse problems, and he was fired. He was fired like the next day. It was on the internet. You know, Eddie Guerrero has been released from the company. So I saw Eddie come in bad shape. It was so crazy as Haku was going over the match with me for the night.
Wow. So much has happened just like this one show. Like it's Brock Lesnar, the last night for Eddie Guerrero until he returned in 2002. And then you going over your match with a WWF legend, Haku, who you saw wrestle 15 years ago. Like it's
and in this match with Haku, you know, it's on syndicated television, and Michael Hayes and Kevin Kelly are like putting me over on commentary. They said, we have a brand new show coming soon. MTV's Tough Enough. Who could be the next Rory Fox in the making? I'm like, damn.
Love it.
They're never going to put over any local guys like that ever again. And they're saying, who could be the next Rory Fox in the making? Tough Enough is coming up. And that ended up being Maven. So, you know.
You would actually go to make another appearance for WWE. This time for the ECW brand, which would be under the WWE umbrella. And you'd wrestle against a young Zack Ryder, who a lot of wrestling fans will know as Matt Cardona. So I want to ask you, what went through your mind the moment your trunks rips in your now infamous match with Zack Ryder on ECW?
Oh, what a day. What a day. That it was so funny when we were going over that match in the back. It's like Zack Ryder was a Rory Fox mark. He grew up watching MTV's True Life, and he said it on his show. So it's not like I'm making this up. He's like, "Oh man, I'm wrestling Rory Fox. I'm so excited." Da, 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 da. And we're putting this match together. And like I talked earlier, local talent used to get way more offense. So we're putting this match together. I can't remember who the agent was, because I was pretty much checked out at that point. And I'm allowed in this match on ECW TV, like a couple forearms, maybe a roll up. Like, oh, okay, great. And we're putting this match together, and this is what they want. Da da da. Okay, cool. We're out there having the match. What was it? I was already getting irritated in the match because he was like slapping me in the face while I was out on the mat and kicking me in the head hard, which was either because he was inexperienced or just doing it because they tell you, you know, rough up the local guys, you know, make it look good.
Yeah.
And, you know, he lifted me up for a body slam. I slid behind him. I'm supposed to at least get a 1 count. He kicked out at a half a 1 count. And we got to the point in the match where, okay, you're going to hit me with some forearms, drive me back to a corner. What was it? And I'm going to pull on your trunks, and you're going to eat the second turnbuckle. It's a standard thing. Tully Blanchard's been doing it for 30 years. You know, you pull the trunks, you eat the buckle. Well, because he's Zack Ryder, WWE superstar, ECW superstar, and I'm local talent, Rory Fargo. Yes, Rory Fargo, because I couldn't be Rory Fox because they had Alicia Fox, the valet, who's been in the business 1 year, and Rory Fox.
So that's why you was called Rory Fargo.
Yes. And I've been in the business for 10 years, but it doesn't count because I'm on the independents. You can't be Rory Fox. You have to be Rory. I just threw out Fargo just because of the whatever, you know. I'm Rory Fargo. Yay. And we got to the point in the match where, boom, I'm driving with the forearms. Boom. Cardona's barely moving back. We're still in the center of the ring. And we're supposed to be by a turnbuckle. So young Matthew goes to pull on my trunks. He totally takes a back bump pulling so hard on my trunks because we're so far away from the corner. My trunks rip. They go up. And I know, okay, everyone, yes, Rory, why weren't you wearing underwear? Why weren't you wearing under trunks? Well, all you fans out there and all you wrestlers who know everything, I wrestled for 10 years without wearing anything under my trunks, and my trunks never ripped ever. So that tells you Matt Cardona pulled way too hard on my trunks, and it tells you that Kelly Klein, the former ROH women's champion, made a shitty pair of trunks. Yeah, she made the trunks for me, by the way. And this is how carny Rory Fox is. I said, hey, give me a good deal. I will wear your trunks on WWE television. So maybe she charged me $20 to make them because I'm giving her trunks exposure.
You certainly did give exposure.
yeah, more exposure than I ever imagined.
If anyone, there's no actual footage of it, but if you Google, you can see the pictures if you really want to see.
So, and the other part to that was, as soon as my trunks ripped, I hit the buckle at Anderson and Gallows and everyone else. I guess they've played this at Christmas time at Christmas parties. Like everyone at WWE enjoys the video, they all get a good laugh of it. Fine. I'm in the corner going, oh my God. I guess the camera, the audio picked up on it. And Broski's still like kicking me and shit. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to cover my balls. And he pulls me out by my feet into the middle of the ring to do his little finisher he had. Then it was like you put the leg over the head and you spin them over and they take a back bump. This is way before the Broski leg drop he does. And what's always funny is Brian Myers always gives him shit about it on the podcast. It's like, yeah, Broski still had to hit his finisher when poor Rory's trying to cover his dick and balls, And Matt's like, hey man, it's my second match on TV. I got to hit my finisher. But yeah, it's like I'm trying to cover my balls and sell at the same time. And it's just, wow. And what was going through my mind at the time was, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to come back. They're not going to be able to use this footage. They've just wasted precious TV time. But thankfully, when they tape the show, it's an hour before it actually goes on ECW, so it's not live. And I guess they were able to edit it and still use the footage. So when you actually watch it, you hear like all this like screaming. You hear Matt Stryker kind of going on commentary, but you don't see it. So but yeah, they managed to use it. And what I didn't know was when I went to the back, like Vince McMahon didn't say a word. No one said anything. And I'm thinking, oh God, I'm never going to be able to come back again. And I guess Vince laughed his ass off at it. And I went I went walking to the back, and Hurricane kind of looked at me, and Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho. And I guess, like that night, Matt Hardy went on Twitter and said, yeah, Rory really made an ass of himself that night. And Hurricane went like, yeah, Rory really went balls out tonight in this match.
I love the wrestling business.
And here's what's crazy about it is, like, Chris Jericho has been obsessed with it over the years. I made it into a second book. It's like that made such an impression on him. He had to describe that night in Rockville, Illinois, when Rory Fox wrestled Zack Ryder. And he talks about it in his second book. Like, I give Rory all the credits in the world. That's like, I would have been so embarrassed. I just would have ran out of the ring and went to the back. Rory was a professional. He finished his match and went to the back. And Randy Orton has also said in an interview, which is really cool. He goes, they asked him about some of the most embarrassing moments in wrestling. He goes, yeah, this kid, Rory Fox, was out in the ring and his trunks ripped off and his balls and everything were showing out in the ring. And he was a true professional and he finished the match. It was like, shit, get a compliment like that from Randy Orton. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
It didn't make me any more money, but it was cool.
Like, I just have to applaud you for like the fact that you finished the match, and we can laugh about it now. I mean, at the time, I can imagine it being a bit different.
Oh, what? One other thing that I just recently learned at Talking Shop at Mania 2, I had no idea about this. Gallows and Anderson became pretty good friends with Triple H at the time, or like they said, like they thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought it up. I guess Triple H goes, man, was he said, Triple H said something about Rory should have owned the moment. And I talked to Carl Anderson. I go, what did Triple H mean? What should I have done? And he's saying Triple H said Rory should have just walked around the ring, dick and balls, everything showing out. And like, he should have just owned the moment. It's like, well, thanks for telling me now. If I would have known then what I know now, as soon as I went to the back, I would have went all calm, cool, collected. I would have went to Vince McMahon and said, hey, Vince, I got this gimmick. How about every match I have a wardrobe malfunction? And then maybe Vince is like, I like it. That's good shit. But, you know, I was just terrified at the time. I just was like, you know, I didn't know.
Could have had a match between like you and Naked Midian, just anything
pulls
out.
Yeah.